Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. In this video, we're going to be doing our full review of the Asics Gel-Cumulus 27. Let's have a look. The Asics Gel-Cumulus 27 costs £140 or $140. It weighs 265 grams or 9.4 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 8mm. The Gel-Cumulus 27 is a daily cushion shoe designed for comfort over any training distance. It combines Asics FF Blast Plus foam in the midsole with a thick layer of Fluidride outsole foam for durability and traction. That dual layer of foam aims to provide a soft, cushioned ride that also ensures a smooth transition. In addition, the shoe also includes a section of pure gel cushioning to reduce impact and protect the joints, as well as an ultralight X30 sock liner for extra padding. The upper is made from an engineered jacquard mesh for a comfortable fit and plenty of breathability.
So I found the fit of the Asics Gel-Cumulus 27 to be absolutely fine in my normal running shoe size. I've got a UK 9, US 10, that's the same size I use across the entire Asics range, and the shoe fit me very well. Enough room in the toe box, good hold around the heel and midfoot. The upper all round is pretty simple, well designed, no hot spots or annoyances with it at all. So I'd stick to your normal running shoe size with the shoe.
So when it comes to fit, I run in my regular Asics running shoe size, which is UK 8.5. Overall, I think it's got a good fit, nice disappearing shoe on the foot. I got good lockdown across the midfoot. I really quite like these wrapping tongues that have a couple of pads on them to kind of soften that kind of lace pinch. The tongues they're also quite padded all the way down, so when you're cinching the laces tighter across that midfoot, it does take the edge off a bit. Up top, I've got good room lengthwise in the toe box. There's enough wiggle room from the structure of the uppers here, means that it doesn't drop onto the top of the toes, so that's all good. Plenty of room from between the toe knuckles here as well, and even though they sort of hug here, I do get enough flex, so there was no pinch points and no trouble there. Good hold here across the back of the toes up into the heel collars, and you've got really nice padded heel collars that just hold really well, really firm, deliver a good amount of cushioning, and again it's got this kind of cruisery feel and fit. And yeah, I think I would have no trouble recommending going true to size in this shoe.
So the fit for me in this shoe, very comfortable. I'm a size 8 in the UK. There's plenty of space around the sides of the forefoot, around the sides of the midfoot, and a little bit more space than I would normally go for just before the big toe. But I think for most people, it would be absolutely fine. I found it a very comfortable shoe. I've done about 60, 70k in this shoe now and had no issues at all with the fit. There's a nice level of padding in it. Yeah, stick to your size in this shoe.
Now in testing, I've clocked around 20 miles in the Asics Gel-Cumulus 27. I've run on some very tired recovery day legs. I've done some runs where I've been feeling much fresher. I've done a mix of paces. I've done runs mainly up to an hour, though I did one 90-minute test to see how the cushion protects on the longer haul. All of that I've done on road. And what I get here, I think, is a shoe that kind of bucks the trend that we're seeing, sort of holds the line against the invasion of those big stack max cushion shoes that are coming with their ever wider sort of super cushion platforms. Now, as many shoes morph to that kind of design, the Cumulus 27 keeps things a little more traditional. It sort of ticks a lot of the boxes though you still want in a daily trainer. Generally good comfort, a reliable, stable platform that's cushioned with a little bit of response. It's maybe lacking some of the punch that you'd want. It's got a bit of a more old school ride, but offers up more ground feel. That's a good thing though, if that's what you like in a shoe, particularly as there are now fewer shoes that are going to offer this kind of ride. I personally got some sort of Nike Pegasus 41, Brooks Glycerin 22, or maybe even the Ghost sort of ride from this, maybe even some Saucony Kinvara 15 vibes. If that kind of appeals, this shoe will be a shoe that you should like. However, I do think many runners might now seek more cushion, more energy, more bounce, because that's where shoes have been going. I also think the direct midsole might limit how far you may want to take these shoes in terms of that longest stint run. As someone who doesn't mind a less cushion shoe with a bit more of a direct feel for longer runs, I found it okay cruising for that 90-minute run at sort of lower or endurance pace, I guess you'd call it. But there are shoes that I'd probably lean to first, even for that kind of run. However, for lower daily mileage, it's a pretty good option. It's livelier and more agile than Nimbus 27. It's not as energetic as an Nova Blast 5. And for me, it's one of those shoes that sort of falls into the solid, competent sort of daily bracket without being particularly remarkable.
Okay, so as I said, I've done about 60, 70k in this shoe, and that has mainly been easy runs. And the first run I did in it was a 30k long run, which is part of my marathon training. But it was a very comfortable pace, a nice easy pace for 30k. And what I found about the shoe is that it's a solid daily shoe. It's very comfortable. I think it offers something for people that are looking for a general daily shoe that maybe don't want a max stack shoe. There's options like the Asics Gel-Cumulus 27, which is quite a big stack shoe. This is a little bit more natural feeling. It feels a little bit softer as well, that midsole foam. And overall, it's generally a shoe that I would basically say is for beginners or general runners that want something for very consistent, comfortable training. It's not a shoe that's really designed for versatility. I've tried to do some faster stuff in this and it doesn't really work. It's not a shoe that particularly has a lot of speed to it, despite being a little bit leaner than something like the Gel-Cumulus range. So for those easy runs, absolutely fine. It's quite a smooth shoe. The midsole's quite comfortable without being too big. It's a relatively stable shoe. But what I would say about it is it doesn't have a really nice heel to toe transition for me. When you start picking up the pace in this, when I did the longer run in it, 30k run, I did find that in the later stages of it, it just didn't feel like it was really helping a lot of the way. It just felt like the heel to toe transition doesn't really glide you forward or anything like that. It just makes it comfortable to just sort of churn out miles. And I'd also say that the thing that I've noticed quite a lot is the front bit of the midsole of this shoe. When I land on it, I'm not really getting anything back from it. And in the later kilometers of that 30k long run, I did feel that my foot was it was hitting the ground a little bit too much and a little bit too hard. Not fine between like 10k runs, 15k runs, but when I got up to that 30k, I really did notice the lack of midsole and bounce in that forefoot of the shoe. So I did struggle a little bit in the later stages in that run. So I think it's really a shoe that's designed for those sort of comfortable miles, 15k, 10k, those sorts of runs where you're just looking for something that offers a nice bit of comfort, a nice bit of stability, and overall is an accessible shoe for a lot of people. It's definitely not a shoe you'd buy if you're looking to do faster sessions, if you're looking to do longer training sessions where you want something that is going to help you run a longer distance. But for most runs, it's absolutely fine. It sort of sits in that realm of those shoes like the Fluidride and shoes like the now the New Balance 880 V15, similar price and a similar aim for the shoes. So yeah, solid shoe all round, but just nothing really that exciting about it. If you're looking for a shoe that's bouncy, if you're looking for a shoe that's soft, if you're looking for a shoe that has versatility, you're not getting it with this. You're just getting a comfortable shoe that does general miles very well, and it's probably a shoe that's better designed for people that want less stack than what you get in a lot of the big max stack shoes these days. The outsole on it, not any issues with it. It's a funny outsole because it's got this sort of EVA outer on it as opposed to rubber. I've not been running in the wet in this shoe because it's not been raining since I've been testing this shoes, and it's been absolutely fine. It doesn't seem to be wearing down a lot after those miles that I've done from it, but it does feel quite soft, a bit more delicate than you get from rubber, so there might be some concerns about durability, but I'm not seeing them at the moment based on that 60-70k that I've done. So overall, solid daily shoe, nothing exciting.
So I've run 50k in the Asics Gel-Cumulus 27. I've been using it as a daily trainer, mostly for easy runs, the occasional speedier section within those, but mostly just as a shoe to get out the door, rack up some miles as part of your weekly training, and it does that job well enough. This is a pretty solid workhorse shoe all round. I think it's a shoe that's designed to appeal to as many runners as possible with a very balanced, inoffensive ride, and that's fine. I think it works very well in that job. But as a result, it's not a shoe that really stands out or wows you with its ride, and I do think Asics has a better option within its own range in the no-frills Blast 5, and I do think there are some better daily trainers out there in general as well. So like I say, you've got a very neutral ride with the shoe. The foam is well balanced. It's not really very soft or springy, and it doesn't have any negative characteristics like wobbliness or being so squishy that you start to feel like it's sapping your energy or anything like that. It's a pretty neutral platform that's got enough firmness that you can push against it, but you're not getting a lot of energy return out of the toes. Like when you do up the pace, you're not really getting a lot of lift or bounce back from that foam as you roll through. It just provides that sturdy, reliable platform that I think will prove durable and is comfortable enough for daily training, protects the legs well enough, but isn't a very energetic or lively ride at all. It does roll through fairly smoothly. You've got pretty traditional shape to the shoe. It's not very rockered or anything like that, but it does roll through fairly smoothly. I think part of that is the outsole, which I do like on this shoe actually. This rubberized EVA might compromise a bit of durability in the long term, but I've not had any problems with it so far, and it does create a smoother and less slappy feel than some of our Asics' other shoes, in particular the Gel-Nimbus 27, which has always had a bit of a slappy ride for the last few generations, I think mostly because of the outsole, but you don't get that really with the Gel-Cumulus because of this rubberized EVA, which does feel quite good underfoot. But despite that smooth ride and the fact the shoe is pretty lightweight, it doesn't really feel very good at faster paces, I found. That's mostly just because you don't get a lot back from that foam. Like I say, it's it's built more for protection and comfort than anything else. And on the comfort side of things, like, it's not a mega stack shoe, and I think that's fine. I think it is still really comfortable. Like, the Nimbus will give you a bit more foam underfoot, as will the Nova Blast. You might notice that a bit under the forefoot on long runs, where you get that little bit of extra foam under the forefoot, but I do think the Gel-Cumulus 27 is a perfectly comfortable shoe. It is still a pretty high stack, and that foam is still pretty cushy underfoot, but if you are a heavier runner or someone who just loves really soft, big max stack shoes, you might prefer looking at something like the Nimbus for that extra foam. It does have a slightly nimbler feel to it, though, than the Nimbus. I think it's partly because it's a bit narrower and has slightly more traditional shape, more in line with things like the Pegasus or the Brooks Ghost line, things like that haven't gone into full max stack, big wide base territory. I think the Cumulus works well as an alternative to those. That is a little bit lower in stack, but I think there are other shoes out there that do a similar job, just having slightly more lively midsole foam, something like the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, for example. So yeah, all round, I do think it works pretty well as a workhorse shoe. It's not a shoe that I'll rush to buy or pick out as one that I'd want in my own rotation, but do think it does its job within the Asics range and on the market at large as a go-to trainer that will satisfy lots of different people. But I do think there are better options within the Asics range and beyond.
Okay, so my verdict in this shoe, I think it's fine. I think it does a lot of things very well from a comfort perspective. I think it's accessible to a lot of people. I think the fit's very nice. I think if you're going out and you just want something for general daily miles, I think it does the job very well. But if you want something very specific out of your shoe, if you want it to do something like have softness, comfort, bounce, all those sorts of things over what you get from a normal daily shoe, you're not going to get it from this. This really just ticks the boxes as a general shoe. It's not a particularly modern shoe. It's a difficult shoe to compare with a lot of. It's not a big max stack shoe. It's not got loads of energy return it, anything like that. It's just comfortable, daily, easy shoe, which if you bought this 4 years ago, it would fit into the realms of the shoes then very well. It's not really pushing the boundaries of anything. What I would say is that the other shoes that are around this price range and doing a similar thing are things like the Saucony Ride range and the now the New Balance 880 V15, which I think are superior shoes to this. I think they just have a little bit more versatility. I think the midsole is just a little bit more exciting in those shoes. So I would go for those over this shoe if I was looking for something around that price point. But I think that this shoe probably has a tiny bit more comfort, and that's it. It's not a bad shoe. I think it's accessible. I think if you're a beginner, you'll get on with this very well. And also if you're somebody who wants a general shoe, but you don't want the max stack of something like the Nimbus, this is a good option as well. But overall, it's just a solid shoe that's not got loads of exciting features, which is what you might want.
So verdict on the Gel-Cumulus 27 is it is a solid shoe that does a solid job within the Asics range in being a slightly less cushioned, lower profile shoe than the Nimbus. That's also a bit cheaper. I think it works well as a daily trainer that can pick up a lot of miles. It's not really that versatile for me, but it's not too heavy or anything like that, so you probably could go a bit faster in it if it was the one shoe you had in your range. It's very similar for me to equivalent shoes from other brands like the Nike Pegasus 41, the Brooks Ghost 16, even the new Hoka Clifton, which also has an 8mm drop. I think they're good shoes that you can pick up almost before you know your preferences in running shoes and know that you're going to get on with them pretty well. But if you do have a bit of a clearer idea what you're looking for in running shoes and what you really like, it's unlikely I think the Cumulus would be the one that you'd really pick out, because it isn't the most cushioned, it isn't the most lively, it's more of a generalist really. It's also just not that fun a shoe, and that's something I would look for a bit more in my daily trainer myself. And I think the Nova Blast 5 is a very good alternative at the same price. I think it's got a bouncier ride, it's a bit more cushioned, a bit more rockered, just a bit more fun I think to tick off daily miles, and has a bit more versatility as well. I think it responds well at faster paces than the Cumulus. Same price, same weight. So that's why I think the Cumulus looks a bit out of place in the lineup now, because it is an alternative to the Nimbus, because it is a bit nimbler, a bit lighter, still very cushioned, but not that big maxed out wide shoe design the Nimbus has. And the Cumulus probably suits my preferences a little bit more than the Nimbus as a result. But now Asics has the Nova Blast as well. I think that provides a better option at that lower price point with a more fun and energetic ride all round. that I think runners of all levels can really enjoy. So you've also got stuff like the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, which is cheaper, does a similar job, a bit better, I think, because you've got a livelier midsole foam in there. I prefer the Hoka Clifton 10 to it as well. I think that's a really solid daily trainer that works well for lots of different runners as well. And then if you prefer slightly more lightweight shoes that you can use as daily trainers, which is what I tend to prefer, so I wouldn't have something like the Cumulus in my lineup myself. I prefer shoes like the Hoka Max 6, New Balance Rebel V4 that are coming in around the same price, but they're a lot lighter. They're still really nicely cushioned, I think, but they're a little bit more low profile. And if you get on with that and don't necessarily want just a pure cushion shoe for your daily training, I think they're really good options, as is the Adidas Evo SL, which is more of a speed leaning shoe, but a really good all-rounder. Again, at the same price, you've got a super foam in the midsole, just delivers a much livelier, more fun ride to something like the Cumulus, which is a really solid option. It's just, I think there are better options now on the market that I would look for instead. If you do pick it up, it's a really solid workhorse shoe. It'll work well. It's probably not much different to the previous version. I haven't tested that myself, but you might get a bit more value by going for the older version. But I do think if you have a clear idea of what you're looking for in a running shoe or what you really want from it, I think there are always going to be better options out there. And even if you don't have any idea of what you want and you're a completely new runner, I'd go for the Nova Blast 5 ahead of it at the same price, because I think it's just a more fun, better shoe.
But then the Cumulus 27 cuts a different path from the Nova Blast or the Nimbus from Asics lineup. You've got a smaller stack, you've got a more traditional setup, but I think it's definitely good to have those options within Asics lineup, and I like that it hasn't jumped the bandwagon and decided to go big stack. We need some of these sort of lower stack shoes in the mix too. I'd kind of describe it as a happy, reliable, comfortable shoe that can cope with quite a good range of paces. It's competent from easy up to endurance pace, but it doesn't necessarily, I would say, excel at any one job. Maybe the standout for this shoe is really that it doesn't kind of stand out at all. It's sort of happily tame, nicely reliable. I think it's potentially a good option for beginner runners, but at £140 sort of price, I think there's some really stiff competition in this area from shoes that offer more versatility. If you don't mind a bigger stack, then I think the Nova Blast 5 has more range. I prefer the ride of the Nike Pegasus 41. I've not run in the Saucony Ride 18, but I would say the Ride 17 would also get my nod ahead of this. The Hoka Max 6 is another good rival with workhorse versatility that would cover similar kinds of runs. So while I enjoyed my miles in the Cumulus 27, there's nothing majorly wrong with this shoe. I can't say I'll be reaching for it much after we're done testing. And for the record, I'm not a huge fan of this sort of slightly old man shoe colourway that they've got.
That's it from us on this review of the Asics Gel-Cumulus 27. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and click that little bell. And if you're going to catch and play, you can find it into our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.